It was just another Tuesday night, or so I thought. I was slumped on the couch, mindlessly flipping through channels, trying to drown out the silence of the empty house. The rain was drumming a relentless rhythm against the window panes, each drop sounding like a tiny, insistent finger tapping on the glass. Suddenly, my phone buzzed on the coffee table, its screen cutting through the dim light of the living room. I glanced at it, expecting a late-night work email or a spam text. But what I saw made my blood run cold. The screen glowed with an incoming call. The caller ID, it was my own name, my own number. My thumb hovered over the green icon, a wave of confusion and dread washing over me. This had to be a glitch, right? Some kind of weird spoofing app. It couldn't be real. Curiosity, that fatal human flaw, got the better of me. I swiped to answer, my heart pounding a frantic tempo against my ribs. I held the phone to my ear, but said nothing. The line was crackling, filled with a static that sounded like a million whispering voices. Then, a voice cut through the noise. It was ragged, strained, and terrifyingly familiar. It was my voice. But it was a version of me that had been screaming for hours, a voice shredded by terror. "Don't go upstairs," it rasped, the words catching in a choked sob. "Whatever you do, don't go up there." My own throat went dry. I tried to speak, to ask who this was, what kind of sick joke they were playing, but no sound came out. The voice on the other end continued, desperate and frantic. "He's here. He's in the house. He's going to. He's going to." The voice broke off into a series of wet, gurgling sounds, followed by a sickening thud. Then, silence, just the hum of the open line. I stared at the phone, my hand trembling so hard I almost dropped it. The call ended. My mind was racing, trying to piece together the insanity of the last 30 seconds. A prank. It had to be a prank. A very elaborate, very cruel prank. But that voice, it sounded so genuinely terrifying. It sounded like me. And that warning, "Don't go upstairs." My eyes involuntarily drifted towards the darkened staircase at the end of the hall. It loomed there like the mouth of a cave, shadows clinging to each step. Every creak and groan of the old house, sounds I usually ignored, now seemed amplified, sinister. The rain outside seemed to beat harder, mimicking the frantic pulse in my ears. I had to prove it was a joke. I had to expose the lie to calm my own fraying nerves. Pushing myself off the couch, my legs felt like they were made of lead. I took a hesitant step towards the hallway, my gaze fixed on the top of the stairs, where the darkness was absolute. "Hello," I called out, my voice barely a whisper. It was absorbed by the shadows, unanswered. "Is anyone there?" Louder this time, trying to inject a confidence I absolutely did not feel. The only reply was the continued drumming of the rain and the frantic thumping of my own heart. With each step I took towards the staircase, the feeling of being watched intensified. It felt like a physical pressure, a pair of unseen eyes boring into the back of my neck. I reached the bottom step and placed my hand on the cool, smooth wood of the banister. My palm was slick with sweat. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "It's just your imagination," I told myself. It was a prank call, there's nothing up there. But the ragged, desperate sound of my own voice echoed in my memory. "Don't go upstairs." I forced my foot onto the first step. It creaked under my weight, a loud, protesting groan that seemed to echo through the entire house. I froze, listening. Nothing, just the storm. I took another step, then another, my ascent slow and agonizing. The air grew colder the higher I went, a strange, unnatural chill that had nothing to do with the drafty old house. A smell hit me then, faint at first, but growing stronger with each step. It was a coppery, metallic scent, familiar and deeply unsettling. The smell of blood. My heart was now a jackhammer in my chest. Panic was setting in, a cold, sharp-edged fear that threatened to paralyze me. I was halfway up the stairs now. The darkness at the top of the landing seemed to deepen, to become more solid. I could almost make out the shape of the doorway to my bedroom. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers clumsy and numb. I turned on the flashlight, a weak beam of light cutting a nervous path through the oppressive gloom. I swept the light across the landing. Nothing, just the closed door to my bedroom. But the smell was much stronger here. It was thick, cloying, and it was definitely coming from inside my room. My hand, still gripping the phone, was shaking uncontrollably, making the beam of light dance and jitter across the door. I knew I should turn back. I knew I should run out of the house and not stop running. Every instinct was screaming at me to obey the warning from that impossible phone call. But I couldn't. I had to know. I had to see what was behind that door. I reached the landing, my feet silent on the carpet. I stood before my bedroom door, the brass knob gleaming faintly in the flashlight's beam. My breath hitched. I could hear something now, from the other side. A soft, rhythmic dripping sound. Drip, drip, drip. It was the sound of a leaky faucet, but slower, thicker. My hand reached for the doorknob. It was cold, colder than it should have been. I hesitated for a final, heart-stopping moment. Then, I turned the knob and pushed the door open. The beam of my flashlight sliced into the darkness of the room. It fell upon the foot of my bed, illuminating my discarded shoes from that morning. I swept the light further into the room, and then I saw it. I saw him. Sprawled on the floor, between the bed and the wall, was a body. He was wearing my clothes, the same gray sweatshirt and jeans I had on right now. His dark hair was matted with something wet and dark. The light traveled up his body, and my breath caught in a strangled gasp. The face, pale and slack in the harsh glare of the flashlight, was my own. His eyes were open, staring blankly at the ceiling with a look of utter, frozen terror. A dark, ugly wound marred his temple, and a pool of crimson was spreading slowly from beneath his head, staining the beige carpet a deep, terrible red. The dripping sound was coming from his fingers, as blood dripped slowly from his hand onto the floor. I was looking at my own corpse. A scream tore from my throat, raw and animalistic. I stumbled backward, away from the horrifying tableau, my legs giving out from under me. I fell hard against the wall in the hallway, the phone clattering from my grasp and skittering across the floor, its light now spinning crazily across the ceiling. The world tilted, my vision blurring at the edges. It wasn't possible. It couldn't be real. I was here. I was alive. How could I be there, dead on the floor? My mind fractured. The phone call. The voice, my voice, warning me. He's here. He's in the house. The gurgling sound, the thud. It wasn't a warning about a future event. It was happening right then. As I was answering the phone downstairs, I was dying up here. A wave of nausea rolled through me. I scrambled away from the doorway, crab walking backward down the hall, my eyes still locked on the impossible sight in my bedroom. Then, I heard a new sound. It wasn't the rain, it wasn't the dripping. It was a soft creak from downstairs, from the direction of the staircase. My blood turned to ice, my frantic breathing stopped. Silence descended again, thick and heavy. Someone else was in the house, the he my dying self had warned me about. He was still here, and he was coming up the stairs. I could hear the slow, deliberate footsteps on the creaking wooden stairs. One step at a time, unhurried, confident, each creak was a countdown. My mind was a whirlwind of pure, unadulterated terror. Who was it? What was it? What did it want? I was trapped. The only way out was down those stairs, and something was coming up. My eyes darted around the dark hallway, searching for a place to hide, a weapon, anything. There was nothing, just bare walls and closed doors. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. They paused on the landing. In the dim, ambient light filtering from the windows, I could just make out a silhouette. A tall, slender figure standing where I had stood only moments before. It was completely still, a statue carved from shadow. I held my breath, praying it couldn't see me huddled in the darkness at the far end of the hall. The figure slowly turned its head, and I felt its gaze fall upon me. I couldn't see its face, but I could feel its stare, cold and ancient and utterly malevolent. It took a step towards me, then another. It moved with a smooth, unnatural grace, its feet making no sound on the carpeted floor. Panic finally broke through my paralysis. I scrambled to my feet and lunged for the door to the guest room, my fingers fumbling blindly for the knob. I ripped it open, threw myself inside, and slammed it shut, turning the lock with a loud, definitive click. I pressed my back against the door, my entire body shaking, listening. Silence. For a terrifyingly long moment, there was nothing. Then, a soft, polite knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. A voice spoke. and the sound shattered the last remnants of my sanity. It was a calm, gentle voice. It was a familiar voice. It was my voice. "I know you're in there," it said, a tone of pleasant amusement in its words. "There's no need to hide. I just want to talk." Another knock, a little harder this time. "Please open the door. You're only delaying the inevitable." My throat was closed so tight, I couldn't even scream. I could only stand there, pressed against the door, as the thing on the other side, the thing wearing my voice, began to patiently, methodically, turn the doorknob.